Hi, everybody, and welcome to week 2 of Social and Economic Justice 1. I wanted to take a few minutes just to review this week's course objectives, readings, and assignments so that we're all on the same page with those. Before I do that, I wanted to thank everybody for posting your introductory videos. I believe I have watched everyone's, and it is really great to be able to put a face to the name and to hear a little bit about what your experiences have been with social work. And also what you've thought of your coursework so far. I think it was always really interesting to me to hear where people are from. I know we have a number of people who are in the Philadelphia area, New Jersey, but also heard, I think, South Carolina and Alabama and Ohio. And I think one of the really great things about online coursework is that we get to sort of have these perspectives from all these different geographical locations from people who are actively living and working there. So I think that's really one of the interesting parts about online education. Was also really interested to hear about people's social work experiences, also to learn about people who are newer to social work and either transitioning or not yet working in the field. And I think that I've actually found in the online courses I've taught that that students who aren't yet working in the field typically do bring really unique and interesting perspectives to our discussions, you know, based on whatever their experiences have been before they decided to go into social work. So I don't necessarily think not yet working in social work or not currently working in social work are disadvantages. I think everybody brings, you know, the sum of their experiences to this course, and I think it really enables all of us to learn from one another. So let's see what else. Your other discussion post assignment, I typically try to have things graded by Thursday. So if the course closes at midnight on Sunday, I try to get grades back to you by Thursday. When we get a little further into the semester and we have longer written assignments, it may take me a little bit longer to turn those around to you because I do, you know, set aside a good amount of time to really review your written assignments and give you extensive feedback. But as far as this week, you should have a grade from me for this week's assignment by Wednesday or Thursday. So moving on to week 2. This week we're going to be talking about personal and social values, policy choices, and the social construction of difference. And go into our objectives and readings here. So really this week the objectives are that you'll be able to identify values and ideologies that are commonly held in the United States. And here we're sort of talking about more collective values and ideologies. We're going to look at what is meant by the phrase the social construction of a social problem. And that sounds a little redundant, but we're going to be looking at how these values and ideologies evolve to sort of determine how we respond to social problems. You're going to be identifying and listing 3 of your own personal beliefs or values. So we're going to be looking at the sort of collective values of our society, but also how our individual personal beliefs and values come into play in influencing that. And then you're going to also be applying your beliefs or values to a problem area of your choice, and we'll talk about that a little bit more when I get to the assignments. The readings are pretty self-explanatory. All the links should be here. If any of the links aren't working, please feel free to email me, but I think they should all be good. And the Smedley and Smedley article in particular, you're going to be, that's going to be the basis of one of the discussion post assignments, and we'll get to that in a minute. The other thing I will note is make sure you set aside a chunk of time for yourself to watch the videos. This week's videos are much longer than the videos you were asked to watch in week 1. Park Avenue, Money, Power, and the American Dream is actually a full-length documentary. And students tend to really find this to be an eye-opening film. So definitely set aside adequate time to make sure you can watch that. And then, of course, you have supplemental materials down here as well that you can read, you know, on your own time. So let's go to the assignments. All right, so the first assignment, and actually before I do that, let me back up 1 minute. I apologize. Also under your learning resources is a video presentation that I posted that talks a little more in depth about this idea of social construction. I also sent out an announcement yesterday that also contained that link. So I would ask you to please watch that video as well. And then within that video, I also share 2 links to a couple of articles online that I asked you to check out as well, and I included those in the announcement that I sent out yesterday as well, so make sure you watch that. I just wanted to note that it was also here in case you missed the announcement or can't find it easily. Alright, so moving forward to the assignments. The first assignment this week is a personal values assessment. So in this assignment, you are going to be exploring your own values and beliefs, and then applying these to a social problem area. And you're going to sort of you're going to want to do the readings before you do this assignment, because it is going to require you to sort of integrate what you've read and watched in the videos. You may need to use material from 1 or more news sources appropriate to the social problem or social policy area that you're going to end up writing about in this assignment, and all those sources should be listed in APA format. So your initial post is due Thursday, and what you're going to be asked to do in this initial post is, first, you want to choose and list 3 personal beliefs that you hold, and you can list these in bullets. And these should be general beliefs that you hold. So things like, I believe that all people should have equal access to resources. Or I believe individuals are responsible for taking care of one another. Somebody had actually already emailed me a question about this assignment and used an example of, I believe all women should have access to health care. So beliefs or values that you hold yourself, and you want to list 3 of them. Then, based on those beliefs and values, keeping those in mind, you want to answer these 3 questions under number 2, and you're going to write 1 paragraph per question. So you want to, under number 2, you're going to choose 1 problem area, and there's some examples here. So 1 social welfare problem area that you're interested in. And describe how your values or beliefs would influence the way that the United States addresses problems in this area. So if you believe that all people should have equal access to resources, and perhaps you're interested in mental health, describe how your belief that people should have equal access to resources might influence the way that the United States addresses the issue of mental health in this country. The next step is that you want to identify a specific group. So it could be women, older adults, refugees, any kids, any other group that you're interested in. You want to identify a group that might experience the problem you identified. How would you like to see the needs of those in the group you identified addressed? So then you want to answer whether, being consistent with your beliefs and values, do you think their needs should be addressed individually? So is it an issue of personal responsibility? Socially or collectively, or through some combination of these, and you'll be reading about these, the differences between personal responsibility and social responsibility in your readings. So in this case, say for example you had the value of, I believe all people should have equal access to resources, and then in number 1 you pick mental health. In number 2 you identify a group, so I'll use older adults as an example. Who may be experiencing mental health issues. You would want to talk about here how your value might influence how the needs of older adults who have mental health issues, how those are addressed. And then you want to talk about whether their needs should be addressed individually or collectively, or through some combination of these. And then the third part of this is you want to talk about whether this overall approach that you're discussing, whether it should be institutional or universal, or residual, which is more selective and targeted, and those are terms you're going to read about this week. And then talk about in what ways. You want to make sure that you're demonstrating your understanding of these terms. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. I feel like sometimes these assignments can be a little bit confusing, So that's why I try to also explain them in addition to you just being able to read them, but I sometimes feel like that can also confuse things more. So if I've confused you, feel free to email me or post in the Ask the Instructor forum, and I'll be glad to try to clarify any questions that you have. So you want to do that initial post by Thursday, and then by Sunday you want to read and comment on the posts of at least 2 of your classmates. Just in doing that, we of course want to keep in mind that the beliefs and values held by each of us may vary, so we want to be respectful of everyone's contributions. Your comment to your classmates could be posing a question, toward them. It could be sharing experience or views you hold in common. It could be exploring respectfully ways in which you differ, or it could be sharing a resource such as a news article related to your classmate's post. And your comment to each classmate can be limited to 2 or 3 sentences, but it can be longer if you choose. The initial post should be between 400 and 600 words. Your responses to your classmates between 75 and 150 words. And make sure you're following the rubric. So this is the first assignment. Let me know, again, if you have any questions about this whatsoever. I'll be glad to try to answer them and clarify them for you. The second assignment involves the Smedley and Smedley article, and it's a reflection on that article. You're going to be reading Race as Biology is Fiction, Racism as a Social Problem is Real, Anthropological and Historical Perspectives on the Social Construction of Race. So by Sunday, you're going to be asked to respond to these 2 questions. According to Smedley and Smedley, what are the differences between race and ethnicity? And number 2, what is one of the social policy areas to which Smedley and Smedley apply their ideas? Do you find their arguments convincing, unsettling, distortive of the facts or of what you believe, compelling? So you're not required to respond to one another's posts for this one. This assignment is for individual reflection. Your post should be between 400 and 600 words, and you want to use the discussion forum directions and grading rubric below as you construct your post. So I think this assignment is a little more straightforward than the other one. But again, if you do have any questions about it, please feel free to let me know by either emailing me or posting in Ask the Instructor. And I do want to jump back. I want to jump back to the first assignment just very briefly because I wanted to point out one thing that I forgot. This sort of format under number 2 of choosing a problem area, identifying a group that experiences that problem, and then talking about an overall approach. You're going to see this format again when we get to week 4 and you're asked to write a paper. So I would encourage you to pick a topic area that you think you are interested in continuing to develop as we get a little further into the course. This is a good opportunity for you to sort of do some preliminary work that may help you when you get to the paper in week 4. So that's just a suggestion. You don't have to do the paper in week 4 on the same topic that you do in this discussion post, but it's a good way to sort of get yourself started as far as that. I think that is it. If anyone, I know sometimes people do like to work ahead. If that is the case with you, and people wanted to try to get a head start for the next couple of weeks, I would suggest diving into the Tratner text, From Poor Law to Welfare State. Over weeks 3, 4, and 5, we're pretty much going to be reading that book in its entirety. So if you wanted to get a head start somewhere, that is where I would suggest doing that. All right, I think that is everything that I wanted to cover. Get us back to week 2 here. All right, so if anyone has any questions whatsoever about week 2, as you're working through the week again, please feel free to ask. I will also be online via the Big Blue Button Virtual Office Hours link, which is right here, on Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So if you have a question and you kind of like a real-time answer, you can feel free to jump on there, and we can either talk online or we can chat virtually. And if that time doesn't work for you and you want to talk, you can feel free to email me. I do have some flexibility in my schedule, and I can find other times that fit with both of our schedules. All right, everybody. I hope everyone has a great week. I'm looking